Hi guys, welcome to the explanation for PT1 Game 3. We're taking a look at this as part of studying sequencing rules. And sequencing rules are rules that tell us the position of a variable relative to another variable. And this game only has sequencing rules. There's nothing else going on. So we can just chain them all together and we'll have a very useful visual aid for solving these questions really quickly. So let's take a look at how that works. Okay, here are all the partners that we have in this law firm, and we're going to be ordering the years that they were hired. And you've got years 61 to 68. I would just make that 1 to 8. So here are our years that we'll use as the base, and we're just going to be plugging these pieces into that. No problems there. The big lesson in this game is linking together all these sequencing rules that they give us. So here's the first rule. Hodges joined before Nader. Nice little sequencing rule. Just tells us H comes somewhere in this order before N. And all the rules we get are going to be very similar to that. The next one is King joined before James. It's not clear yet how that joins up with our main chain, so you might want to write it off to the side. But you know you're going to be chaining these together when you see all these sequencing rules. So hopefully we'll get this linked up with the main chain soon. Next we get Nader and James joined before Greg. So simple little double one that then points to Greg. We now know all this stuff has to be before Greg, H, N, and J. And now all of a sudden I can link this rule up. So I'm going to pop it into my main chain. And now we know 4 variables have to be in front of Greg. 4 people were joining the firm before Greg. And I can get rid of having that rule written off to the side. That's just a distractor. To the extent possible, you want everything to go right in your main chain. Next one, Nader joins before Owens. I'm going to put that off as like a little side chain here. James is before McNeil, so J before M, another little side chain here. Try and keep it pretty because you don't want it to be visually tangled up. And then the last rule is that G is joining before Ivan. At this point, you want to take stock of how many variables you have accounted for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's all our variables. So there's no free variables here. Everything's in the chain. And it would be very easy at this point to see, what has to be in front of something else. For example, let's take a look at H and I here. You can join a nice straight line between them, meaning H always has to be before I. That's just one example. We can see that H has to be before O. Again, draw a nice straight line between those two. Whereas if you want to ever double back, you know that 2 things aren't joined together. For example, H and K, this line doubles back here. So those 2 can float relative to each other. You might see H first, then again you might not. You might see K first. So that's the kind of analysis we're going to be doing in this game. And you can do it very quickly. I look at I, and I just see how many things I can join straight to I. Well, it's this, 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 and this. So all those things have to be before I. You draw a nice straight line through the connectors to reach I there. So you know, relative to I, those things are coming in front. Now we'll solve the questions real quick to give you an idea what that looks like. Here we got Hodges. We got to find something that cannot be true in 14. So Hodges joining the law firm in 61. So H in 1. That looks fine, right? Nothing has to go before H. So I'm not going to think about any crazy reason why that might not be possible. I'm going to look for something that obviously can't work and provisionally at least eliminate that. What about Hodges in 63? Again, looking at all the things that have to be after Hodges, it's only these 3 things, right? So I can't see any quick reason why we couldn't have H in 3. I'm going to keep looking for something, more clearly wrong here. How about Greg in 64? Well, Greg in 64, all these things have to be before Greg, right? So that's 4 things, and we only have 3 spaces. That's not going to work out. So we know that it can't be true that Greg is in 64, and C is our correct answer. For 15, we've got, in the prompt, it's telling us that James is joining the firm in 62. So we pop that right in, and you look immediately, And you know K has to be in 1 because K is always before James. So if you're looking for something that cannot be true there, the first thing you'd want to look is if they tell you something else is in 1. But that doesn't happen, so we're going to have to look at all of these. What about Hodges in 63? Again, that looks really fine. No reason why that can't go there, similar to A on the last problem. McNeil in 63, again, looks okay. Nothing else has to be in front of McNeil. McNeil is only connected to these two variables, right? That's the only thing you can draw a straight line between M and those two variables. How about Hodges in 64? Well, a bunch of things have to be after Hodges, so we want to check 4 things here have to be after Hodges. But we have 4 spaces, so then M would pop in here, and everything works fine there. No problems. Nader 64, again, looks like it's going to work. H would just be the only thing that needs to go in front, and there's room for it. So I'm looking at E is going to have to save us here and be the right answer. How about Owens in 64? Well, yeah, now H and N have to be before Owens, and there's no room. There's only 1 spot there. So E is our correct answer. For 16, we're looking at the latest year James could join the firm. So James has to have this, this, and this after James, right? So that's 3 things after James. That leaves us with James at the latest in 5. Any later, and there's no room for those things. And then this should work fine. We could pop M, G, I in there. And then it's very easy to get the other variables in. Here's one order that could work. H, N, O, and then K. So latest James could join is 65, and that's D. For 17, we have Owens joining the firm in 65, and then McNeil in 67. So we pop in those, and it's asking us how many of the other partners can we determine the years in which they joined exactly. And be very careful, because it's just asking you what in addition to O and M we can know which year. They're not included in the count. The easiest thing to do here is to just look at the rest of that chain in isolation, and we see this HNKJGI thing. Well, that's going to force G and I into these back 2 spots, and then these other 4 are a lot more flexible. They can move around in order up front. You know, you could have H, K, N, J. You could have H, N, K, J. So we can't determine for these 4 where they are. The only 2 that we know they're stuck in the back here is G and I, right? So that comes up with an answer of 2. We know exactly where 2 are, and that's answer choice B. For 18, we get a new rule, so write it into your main chain that M is after O. So right here is our new rule. You can leave this here. Just remember now, we got to look at 2 things for where M is. Now we got to figure out the earliest that M could join. Well, you simply look at all the variables that need to be in front of it. Drawing a straight line from M, we can now get O, N, and H. And then we look down here, and we get J and K as well. So that's 5 things that have to be in front of M. The earliest we can get M is going to be in 66, which corresponds to answer choice D. Okay, that's the game. Hopefully you saw that having this chain enables us to make deductions here very, very quickly about how these things have to go in the order. So really focus on drawing those chains correctly, getting your rules linked up together, your sequencing rules, and you're going to have a very easy time solving any game where it's all sequencing rules. Those same skills are going to apply anytime you see 2 or 3 sequencing rules that can link up. Make sure to link them up. Even if there's other types of rules present, that's always a good strategy for dealing with sequencing rules. Chain them whenever possible. Okay, thanks. We'll see you on the next lesson.